I watched the color drain from his face the moment he realized who I was. 5 years. 5 years of silence. And now Derek was sitting across from me in my conference room, begging for my approval. Funny how karma works, isn't it? Let me back up. My name is Claire Chen, and I'm 24 years old. Senior recruiter at Morrison & Locke, one of the most prestigious corporate firms in Dallas. I lead executive hiring, make 6 figures, and have an office with a view of downtown that still makes me pinch myself sometimes. Not bad for someone who spent her 19th birthday sleeping in a Honda Civic behind a Target, right? But that's not where the story starts. It starts with a resume that landed on my desk last Tuesday. Derek Chen, seeking entry-level pharmaceutical sales position. My hand actually shook when I saw the name. My brother. The golden child. The future doctor my parents destroyed my life for. I approved the interview immediately. Before we go any further, if you're loving this story, hit that subscribe button right now. Seriously, you're going to want to see how this ends. And drop a comment telling me where you're listening from. I love hearing from you guys. Now, back to the interview that changed everything. Friday, 2 p.m. I had the conference room prepared. 14th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of room that makes you feel small if you're not ready for it. I wore my navy Tom Ford suit, the one that cost more than a month's rent in my old apartment. I wanted him to see exactly what I'd become without them. When Derek walked in, he didn't recognize me at first. Why would he? The Claire he knew was 18, exhausted, desperate. The Claire sitting before him had shed 40 pounds of stress, carried herself like she owned the building, because honestly I kind of did, and looked nothing like the broken girl they'd thrown away. Good afternoon, I said, my voice steady. Professional. Please, have a seat. He sat, started his rehearsed introduction. Then his eyes really focused on my face. The recognition hit him like a freight train. Claire. His voice cracked. The portfolio in his hands actually slipped, papers scattering across my glass table. I didn't move, didn't smile. Just let the silence stretch until he squirmed. Hello, Derek. I leaned forward, folding my hands. Shall we begin the interview? Claire, I didn't know. He was stammering, sweating through his cheap dress shirt. How long have you been? Working here? 3 years. Senior recruiter for 18 months. I opened his file slowly, deliberately. Now, let's discuss your qualifications. Or should I say, lack thereof. His face went from pale to red. Look, I know things ended badly, but... Ended badly? I let out a cold laugh. Is that what we're calling it? You moved into my bedroom 3 days after they kicked me out. I believe your exact words were, finally got the bigger room. I was 18. I didn't. You were 19, Derek. And you knew exactly what you were doing. I flipped through his application, my eyes catching on something that made my stomach tighten. Medical school dropout. 2 universities. Impressive. Dad must be so proud. Don't. His voice hardened. You don't know what I've been through. No. I looked up. Enlighten me. What does the favorite child have to complain about? The one who got my college fund? My bedroom? My parents' love? He opened his mouth, then closed it. I watched him wrestle with whether to beg or get defensive. Then I saw it. Line 17 on his employment history. Terminated from our Xmart Pharmacy, Houston. Reason: policy violation. Policy violation, I read aloud. That's corporate speak for something serious. Want to tell me what really happened, or should I call my contact at our Xmart? Derek's face went completely white. It wasn't. It was a misunderstanding. Try again. I pulled out a printed report I'd gotten from a colleague that morning. Forging prescription records. Stealing sample medications. That's not a misunderstanding, Derek. That's a felony. The silence was deafening. Does Mom know you're here? I asked quietly. Does she know I'm the one interviewing you? His eyes dropped to the table. Here's what's going to happen, I said, closing his file. You're going to schedule a second interview. Next Wednesday, 3 p.m. And you're going to bring a professional reference. Claire, please. Bring Mom. The look of absolute terror on Derek's face when I said bring Mom was almost worth 5 years of silence. Almost. You can't be serious, he whispered, gripping the edge of my conference table like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Dead serious. I stood up, smoothing my suit jacket. Wednesday, 3 p.m. You, Mom, and a full explanation of your employment history. All of it. I walked to the door and opened it. Professional references are standard procedure for positions at this level, Derek. Surely Mom would be happy to vouch for your character. He stumbled out without another word, and I watched through the glass as he practically ran to the elevators. My assistant, Jessica, poked her head in moments later. That seemed intense. You okay, boss? I wasn't, but I smiled anyway. Reschedule my Wednesday afternoon. I have a feeling it's going to be memorable. The weekend crawled by like torture. I tried to focus on anything else, my nonprofit paperwork, meal prepping, a Pilates class, but my mind kept spiraling back to one question. Would she actually come? Saturday night, I found myself doing something I hadn't done in years. I opened the shoebox under my bed, the one with everything from my homeless period. Target parking lot receipts, the Planet Fitness membership card with 3 months of daily check-ins highlighted, a photo of me and my best friend Morgan from senior year, back when I still believed my family loved me. There was one memory I'd buried deeper than the rest. My 19th birthday. I'd been living in my Civic for 6 weeks by then, and I made the mistake of driving past our house in Austin. Through the window I saw them. All of them. Derek, Mom, Dad, having dinner together, laughing. There was a cake on the table. They were celebrating something while I sat outside in a car that smelled like fast food and desperation, watching the family that threw me away replace me like I never existed. I called Morgan that night, sobbing. She let me shower at her apartment, gave me leftovers, but I could see it in her eyes, the pity, the discomfort, the relief that it wasn't happening to her. We stopped talking 2 months later. That was the night I stopped crying and started planning. By Monday morning, I'd done my homework. Deep research. The kind that makes you question if you really want to know the truth. Patricia Chun, my mother, had been terminated from Henderson Medical Supply 4 months ago. Not laid off. Terminated. For falsifying inventory reports to cover up missing medications. Medications that Derek had been stealing and selling online before he even got fired from our X-Mart. She protected him. Sacrificed her job for him. Just like she'd sacrificed me. But here's the part that made my coffee taste bitter. Dad had left her. 6 months ago, Leonard Chin filed for divorce and moved to Phoenix with a 32-year-old dental hygienist named Brittany. He'd cleared out half their savings account and left Mom with a mortgage she couldn't pay on unemployment. The golden child had destroyed her career. The husband had abandoned her. And now they were both desperate enough to come crawling to the daughter they'd erased. Wednesday arrived like a storm I'd been watching on the horizon. I wore my burgundy Armani suit, the power color, and had Jessica set up the large conference room. The one with cameras for training purposes. Everything would be recorded. At 2:55 p.m., Jessica buzzed me. Miss Chun, your 3 o'clock is here. Both of them. Give me 2 minutes, then send them in. I stood at the window, watching tiny cars move through Dallas traffic, and tried to remember the last thing Mom said to me. It came back in her voice, sharp and cold. You're being selfish, Claire. This family doesn't owe you anything just because you got good grades. The door opened. Derek walked in first, looking like he hadn't slept in days. And behind him, I almost didn't recognize her. Patricia Chin had always been immaculate. Hair salon every 2 weeks. Designer bags, that air of superiority that came from being married to a successful accountant. The woman who walked into my conference room wore a Target pantsuit, drugstore makeup, and had roots showing in her dyed hair. She'd aged a decade in 5 years. But it was her eyes that shocked me. They were scanning the room with the same desperation I'd seen in my own reflection that 19th birthday. The desperation of someone who'd lost everything and was running out of options. She still didn't recognize me. Good afternoon, I said, not moving from the window. Thank you for coming, Mrs. Chun. Of course, she said, her voice tight and professional. Derek said you needed a professional reference. I'm happy to speak about his. Then I turned around. I watched it happen in slow motion. Her eyes met mine. Confusion flickered across her face. Then recognition. Then shock so profound she actually grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. Claire. It came out as a whisper. Hello, Mom. For 5 seconds, nobody moved. Derek looked like he might throw up. Mom's face cycled through about 15 different emotions. Shock, disbelief, fear, and then something that made my stomach turn, calculation. She rushed forward, arms outstretched, tears suddenly streaming down her face. "Oh my God, Claire! Baby, we've been looking everywhere for you. Thank God you're okay." I stepped back before she could touch me. "Stop! Sweetie, we tried to find you. We called your friends. We were so worried. You have my phone number." My voice cut through the room like ice. "You've had it for 5 years. The same number. I never changed it. You never called." Her arms dropped. The tears kept flowing, but something shifted in her expression. "We didn't. Your father said you needed space to—" "Don't lie." I walked to the conference table and sat down, gesturing to the chairs across from me. "Sit. Both of you." They sat. Derek couldn't meet my eyes. Mom was still trying to hold on to that concerned mother act, but I could see it crumbling. "I'm going to give you one chance to be honest with me," I said quietly. "And then I'm going to tell you exactly what I know, and we'll see who's been lying. Sound fair?" Mom's jaw tightened. There it was, the real Patricia Chun underneath the tears. "After everything we sacrificed raising you," she said, her voice dropping the sweetness, "you're going to sit there in your fancy suit and humiliate your own brother? We gave you 18 years of our lives. You gave me 18 years of leftovers while Derek got steak. 18 years of why can't you be more grateful while he failed classes and got rewarded. 18 years of being the backup plan." I leaned forward. "And then you took my inheritance, the one Grandma Chin specifically left for me, and gave it to him. For a future, he flushed down the toilet in 1 semester." Derek flinched. Mom's face went red. "That money was family money. It was my money. From Grandma's life insurance policy. She wrote my name on it, Mom. Not the family's. Mine. We needed it for what?" I opened a folder on the table. "Because here's what I know. Derek flunked out of that expensive Connecticut school after 1 semester. Came back to Austin and enrolled in community college, where he failed out again. Then he somehow got into medical school. I'm guessing you pulled strings, and he dropped out after 6 months." I pulled out another document. "Then he got a job at our Exmart pharmacy, where he was terminated for stealing prescription medications. Sample Adderall, Xanax, Percocet. He was selling them online." "That's not," Derek started. "Shut up," I said calmly. "And you, Mom. You got him a job at Henderson Medical Supply afterward, probably calling in favors, probably lying on his application. And when he stole medications again, you falsified inventory reports to cover for him. They caught you both. He got fired. You got terminated. And that was 4 months ago." The silence in the room was suffocating. Mom's face had gone from red to pale. "How do you—" "I'm a corporate recruiter, Mom. Background checks are literally my job." I pulled out one more document. "And here's my favorite part. Dad left you 6 months ago. Took half the savings. You're 3 months behind on the mortgage. Derek's living in your spare room because no one will hire him with his record." I looked between them. "So let me ask again. Does Dad know you're here? Does he know I'm the one holding your future in my hands?" Mom's mask finally shattered completely. "You have no idea what it's like. To be abandoned by your family. To lose everything. To sleep in your car and wonder if you'll ever be okay again." I stood up. "Actually, Mom, I know exactly what that's like. You taught me." Derek was crying now. Actual tears. "Claire, please." "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "You're both going to tell me the truth. The real truth. About the college fund. About why you really kicked me out. About all of it. I walked to the door and opened it. Or I make one phone call to the Dallas Police Department about Derek's little pharmaceutical side business, and we see how that plays out." Mom shot to her feet. "You wouldn't." "Try me." The look on her face told me she finally understood. I wasn't the desperate 18-year-old girl anymore. I was someone with power, and I was done being merciful to people who'd show me none. "Now," I said, closing the door and leaning against it, "who wants to tell the truth first?" The silence stretched for exactly 13 seconds. I counted. Derek broke first. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "None of it was supposed to." "Shut up, Derek," Mom hissed. "No." He looked up at her, and I saw something I'd never seen before, anger. Real, simmering anger. "I'm done protecting you." Mom's eyes went wide. Don't you dare. She kicked me out for your future, Derek, I said, my voice sharp. So tell me, what future was worth destroying mine? He laughed. Actually laughed. It was bitter and broken. There was no future, Claire. There was never any future. What are you talking about? The college fund. He looked at Mom with pure resentment. Tell her. Tell her the truth, or I will. Mom's face had gone completely white. Derek, stop. Dad gambled it away. Derek shouted, slamming his hand on the table. All of it. 3 years before you graduated. The whole $47,000 gone. Vegas trips, online poker, sports betting. Dad blew through Grandma's money before you even applied to colleges. The room tilted. What? They kicked you out for nothing, Derek continued, his words tumbling out like he'd been holding them in for years. That fancy Connecticut school. I went for 1 semester before they kicked me out for non-payment. You want to know why? Because there was no money. There was never any money. I couldn't breathe. You're lying. I wish I was. Derek's voice cracked. Mom knew. She knew the whole time. When you got that NYU acceptance, when you showed her the financial aid package and said you just needed the fund for housing, she knew Dad had already stolen it. I looked at Mom. She was staring at the table, her hands trembling. Mom! My voice sounded foreign to my own ears. Look at me. She didn't move. Look at me. Her head snapped up. The tears on her face looked real now. Ashamed. It's true, she whispered. Your father, he had a problem. We tried to hide it, tried to fix it. But by the time I graduated, you needed a scapegoat. The realization hit me like cold water. You couldn't tell me Dad stole my inheritance, so you made it about Derek instead. You made me the villain for not wanting to share family resources. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Mom? I was shaking now. You slapped me. You let Dad call me selfish. You put my bags on the porch and gave away my room for what? To cover up his gambling addiction. We thought if we could just buy time, if Derek could get through school and become successful, he could help support Dad's habit. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Is that why you pushed Derek so hard? Why you kept forcing him into schools he didn't want, jobs he couldn't handle? Derek nodded miserably. I never wanted to be a doctor. I told her, over and over. But she said I had to, that I owed it to the family after what happened to you. After what you did to me, I corrected, looking at Mom. I was protecting this family. Mom's voice rose, defensive now. Your father was. He promised he'd stop. He said he needed a daughter he could throw away, so no one would ask questions about the missing money. I felt sick. That's what I was. A convenient cover story. Mom was full on sobbing now. I didn't know what else to do. The shame of it, Claire. If people found out Leonard had a gambling problem, that we were broke. So you sacrificed me to protect your reputation. I thought you'd be fine. You were always so smart, so capable. I was homeless, Mom. I slept in my car. I showered at a gym. I went days without eating. We didn't know. You didn't care to know. I was shouting now, years of buried rage erupting. You had my number. You knew exactly where to find me if you'd bothered to look. Derek spoke quietly. She told everyone you'd moved in with a boyfriend. That you chose him over family. Another lie. Another layer of betrayal. And you. I turned to Derek. You just went along with it. Moved into my room. Took my spot at the dinner table. Pretended I never existed. I was 19 and scared, he said. Mom told me if I didn't succeed, if I didn't become someone important, that you'd been sacrificed for nothing. That it would be my fault you were gone. He looked up at me with hollow eyes. Do you know what kind of pressure that is? Every time I failed, every time I got kicked out or fired, I knew I was proving that losing you was for nothing. That's not my fault. I know. His voice broke. I know it's not your fault. It's hers. He pointed at Mom. She destroyed both of us, Claire. You got thrown away. I got turned into a weapon to justify throwing you away. And when I couldn't be what she wanted, when I kept failing, I protected you, Mom said weakly. I covered for you, I lied for you. You covered for yourself. Derek shouted. Every time you falsified a report or made an excuse for me, you weren't protecting me, you were protecting your image. The idea that you'd made the right choice. The truth settled over the room like ash. We'd all been victims of Patricia Chen's desperation to appear perfect, to hide Leonard's gambling, to maintain the illusion of a successful family. I walked slowly back to my chair and sat down. Pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" Mom asked, panic in her voice. "Calling security," I said calmly. "You're both going to leave now and—" "Wait." Derek's voice was steady suddenly. Clear. "You said you were recording this." I nodded slowly. "Good." He looked at Mom. "Because I want her to hear me say this on record. I'm sorry, Claire. For all of it. For taking your room. For not standing up for you. For letting her turn us against each other." He stood up. "And Mom, I'm done. I'm done being your redemption project. I'm done letting you manipulate me into thinking I owe you something." "Derek, don't." "I'm moving out. Tonight. I don't care if I have to sleep on someone's couch. I'm done." He walked to the door, then turned back to me. "For what it's worth, you deserve better. And I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to say that 5 years ago." Then he left. Mom and I sat in silence. Just us now. The woman who gave birth to me and the daughter she threw away. "Claire," she finally said, her voice small. "Please. I know I can't fix this. But you're right. You can't." I stood up. "But I'm going to tell you exactly what you deserve. And trust me, Mom, you're going to wish I'd just called the police." Mom stared at me with the kind of fear I'd seen in my own eyes 5 years ago. The fear of someone who'd lost everything and was about to lose more. "What are you going to do?" she whispered. I let the silence hang. Let her sit with the terror of not knowing. Then I pressed the intercom button on the conference phone. "Jessica, can you send in Mark from HR and Jennifer from legal, please?" Mom's face went ghost white. "Claire, please don't." "Quiet." 2 minutes later, my HR director, Mark Williams, and our corporate attorney, Jennifer Hayes, walked in. Mark was a former Marine who didn't tolerate nonsense. Jennifer had a reputation for destroying people in depositions. Mom looked like she might pass out. "Mark, Jennifer, this is Patricia Chen," I said calmly. "Derek Chen's professional reference. We've been discussing some irregularities in his employment history." "Claire, you can't do this to your own mother," Mom started. "Your own mother?" Mark's eyebrows shot up. He looked at me. "This is family, biologically speaking," I said coldly. "But that's irrelevant to this meeting." Jennifer opened her briefcase. "All business." "Miss Chen, I understand there are concerns about fraudulent references and falsified employment records. That's a serious legal matter." Mom was shaking now. "I didn't falsify anything for this application, I swear." "But you did falsify inventory reports at Henderson Medical Supply," I said, "to cover up medication theft. That's documented. And you're currently listed as a professional reference for someone with an active termination for theft on their record. Were you planning to disclose that to us?" The trap closed around her. She knew it. I knew it. "I was just trying to help my son," she said, tears streaming. "I've lost everything, Claire. My husband, my job, my house is going into foreclosure. Derek is all I have left." "And whose fault is that?" My voice was ice. She had no answer. I looked at Jennifer. "What's the standard protocol here?" "We typically blacklist both the candidate and the reference from any future consideration with Morrison and Locke or our partner firms," Jennifer said. "Given the severity, possible legal action depending on what was disclosed in the application." Mom made a sound like a wounded animal. I let her sit with that for exactly 10 seconds. Then I said the words that surprised even me. "I'm not going to do that." Everyone's head snapped toward me. Mark looked confused. Jennifer's eyebrows raised. Mom's crying stopped mid-sob. "What?" Mom breathed. "I'm not going to destroy you." I leaned back in my chair. "But my mercy comes with conditions, and you're going to accept every single one without argument." "Understood." She nodded frantically. "Derek." I looked at Mark. "Offer him a probationary position. Not sales. Facilities maintenance. Janitorial staff. Entry level. Minimum wage plus benefits." Mark nodded slowly, understanding what I was doing. "Condition 1, he completes our workforce development certification program. 6 months. He misses 1 day without medical documentation, he's gone." "Okay," Mom whispered. "Condition 2, mandatory counseling, company-sponsored therapist, weekly sessions, non-negotiable. Yes. Condition 3, he reports to me, monthly check-ins. I want to see progress reports, certification completions, therapy attendance records. He lies to me once, and he's not just fired. I press charges for the RX Mart theft. Understood. Yes. Thank you, Claire, thank you so. I'm not finished. My voice cut through her gratitude like a blade. You, Mom. You get nothing from Morrison and Locke. No job. No references. No connections. Her face fell. But I pulled out a business card from my wallet. This is the Women's Workforce Reentry Program. It's a nonprofit in Dallas that helps women over 50 get back into the job market after employment gaps or terminations. I slid it across the table. They offer resume help, interview coaching, skills training, and job placement assistance. They have a 73% success rate. Mom stared at the card like it might bite her. The program is free, I continued, funded entirely by private donations. Jennifer was watching me carefully. She knew. Mark didn't yet, but he would. I don't understand, Mom said quietly. The program launched 2 years ago, I said. I'm the founder. I fund it personally. Every dollar I spend on that program goes to helping women who've hit rock bottom and need a second chance. Mom's hands were shaking as she picked up the card. You did this. I did it for women like me, Mom. Women who got thrown away and had to rebuild from nothing. I leaned forward. But I'm giving you access to it anyway. Not because you deserve it. Because Grandma Chen's will had a clause I discovered last year when I finally had money to hire a lawyer to pull the original documents. I pulled out a yellowed piece of paper. Grandma's handwriting. If Claire ever comes into success or wealth, I read aloud, I ask that she remember family is not just blood but obligation. Help those in need, even when they don't deserve it. That's what makes you better than your circumstances. My voice cracked slightly on the last sentence. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for her. Because even after everything, I'm going to honor the woman who actually loved me. Mom was crying silently now. Real tears. Ashamed tears. You have 1 week to enroll in that program, I said. You'll work with Director Sarah Mitchell. She doesn't know you're my mother, and you won't tell her. You'll be treated like every other participant. No special treatment. Okay. And Mom. I stood up. This is the last time we'll speak as family. If I see Derek's progress reports are good, if I hear you're actually trying to rebuild your life, I'll be satisfied. But don't call me. Don't show up at my office. Don't try to rebuild a relationship that you destroyed. Claire, I forgave you the moment I decided to help instead of destroy. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It means I'm not going to let your choices poison my life anymore. Mark and Jennifer quietly left, understanding this needed to be private now. Mom stood slowly, clutching the business card like a lifeline. How do I apologize for? You don't, I said simply. You just do better. Not for me. For yourself. Because the saddest part of all this, Mom, you destroyed your daughter to protect a lie. And even now, you haven't actually said you're sorry. She opened her mouth, then closed it, looked down. That's what I thought. I walked to the window, turning my back to her. The door's behind you. I heard her footsteps. Slow. Hesitant. Then they stopped. For what it's worth, she said quietly, you became someone I could never have imagined. Someone better than I deserved to raise. I didn't turn around. Goodbye, Mom. The door closed. I stood there for a long time, looking out at Dallas. At the city that had given me a second chance when my own family wouldn't. Jessica knocked softly and came in. You okay, boss? Ask me in 5 years, I said. She smiled sadly. That program you run, the women's reentry one, is that really how you want to spend your money? Helping people like her? I thought about 19-year-old Claire. Alone in a Civic, wondering if she'd ever be okay again. The program isn't for people like her, I said. It's for people like me. People who deserve a second chance because life broke them, not because they broke themselves. I picked up the old photo of Grandma Chen from my desk. But Grandma was right. Mercy isn't about what people deserve. It's about who you choose to be when you have the power to destroy them. Jessica nodded. So what happens now? Now! I smiled for the first time all day. Now I go back to helping people who actually want to change their lives. Derek included, if he's serious. And your mom. I looked out the window one last time. She gets exactly what she gave me. A chance to rebuild from nothing. The difference is, I'm giving her tools. She gave me trauma. That's cold. No, I said quietly. That's mercy she doesn't deserve. And that's exactly why I'm giving it. 3 months later, Derek was still showing up. Still working. Still in therapy. His progress reports were surprisingly good. Mom enrolled in the program. I never checked on her progress. That wasn't my job anymore. And me? I kept building. Kept helping. Kept proving that the best revenge isn't destroying the people who hurt you. It's becoming so successful that their opinion doesn't matter anymore. But mercy? Mercy is the power they'll never have over you again.